Just to kind of orient you as to where we are, behind me is the Capitol building. They are heading in the direction of the White House, which of course has been ground zero for the protests here in Washington over the past week. The president announced on Twitter that he is going to be leaving Walter Reed, heading back to the White House this evening around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, saying in that tweet, "Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life." Could that flexibility include moving events elsewhere if the case counts continue to rise in Florida, even possibly back to Charlotte if the cases stabilize there? Agriculture is the heartbeat of the North Carolina economy, but for farmers here on the ground, fights both in Washington and overseas are causing a whole lot of heartburn. Democrats really have no chance of blocking this nomination, and so they are instead kind of using this week of very high-profile hearings to focus on some issues that frankly did well for them in 2018 during the midterms. Explain to me why you shouldn't hear what he has to say if he says there's information.
Explain to me why they didn't go through the process of subpoenaing him.
The Associated Press is also calling this race for Joe Biden, which is good news for this campaign. They had been focusing a lot of energy here after dismal performances in New Hampshire and Iowa. Would the firewall that Joe Biden pushed for in South Carolina translate to other southern states? And so far, that appears to be the case. The Associated Press calling Virginia, North Carolina, and also Alabama for the former vice president. Just to give you a better sense of the power of the storm surge, this trailer here was originally parked way over there in front of the store before the storm began. It was supposed to serve as a sort of buffer against the winds. This is not the first time a North Carolina state gobbler has been spared the oven courtesy of the President of the United States. The last time was back in 2009. This tradition of pardoning turkeys, by the way, dates back to the George H.W. Bush era. Are you still confident that the post office will be able to handle this at this point?
Oh, I think they will if these restrictions are not put on them.
New concerns from lawmakers on Capitol Hill amid multiple reports that cost-cutting operational changes at the U.S. Postal Service are sparking a mail backlog. The news coming as many Americans are looking to vote by mail this November. Charlotte area Democratic Representative Alma Adams helped lead this letter to congressional leaders, writing the potential for votes to go uncounted or for their delivery to be delayed threatens the integrity of the upcoming election.
If people can't get out to vote safely, then we have to rely on the post office, and I think we need to make sure that we safeguard the post office ability to get the mail delivered.
The letter comes as President Donald Trump is offering mixed messages about mail-in voting, raising unsubstantiated claims about widespread voter fraud, while at the same time encouraging people in Florida, a battleground state this fall, to vote by mail. He also has questioned whether the Postal Service is capable of handling a surge in ballots.
The post office for many, many years has been, run in a fashion that hasn't been great. I don't think the post office is prepared for a thing like this.
In an email, a spokesman for the Postal Service said they remain committed to delivering election mail in a timely manner consistent with our operational standards. A top Republican donor, Louis DeJoy, recently took over the role of Postmaster General. Citing years of financial losses at the Postal Service, he has called for the organization to operate efficiently and effectively. A spokesman for the North Carolina State Board of Elections tells me they're recommending voters put their ballot in the mail a week before Election Day at the latest. That said, a ballot will still count in North Carolina provided it is postmarked on or before Election Day and arrives no later than 3 days after the election.
She represented hope for a lot of people.
Tavia Spratt came to the court today to reflect and to say thanks. Born in Charlotte and now working in the medical field in the Washington area, she says the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was an inspiration.
Without a woman like her, there wouldn't have been a thought in my head that I could do something like this, that I couldn't, if I wanted to be a lawyer, go do that. If I wanted to be a doctor, I could do that.
Lining the steps of the Supreme Court this morning, Justice Ginsburg's former law clerks welcomed her back one last time to the building she called home for more than 2 decades. At a private ceremony, Chief Justice John Roberts remembered his colleague.
Among the words that best describe Ruth, tough, brave, a fighter, a winner, but also thoughtful, careful, compassionate, honest. When it came to opera, insightful, passionate. When it came to sports, clueless.
The heart of the liberal wing of the court, she was close friends with her ideological opposite, the late Justice Antonin Scalia. An advocate of gender equity, she fought discrimination throughout her legal career, both personally and in the courtroom. In doing so, she paved the way for many other women to join the legal profession, like Teresa Cunningham, who drove down from Pittsburgh this morning with her friends from law school.
I've been a lawyer for 30 years. I've seen major differences between the time I graduated from law school and now for the other women who've come behind me. And I think she inspired each of us to be a little bit of a trailblazer of ourselves for those to come behind us.
Now, with Justice Ginsburg's passing, Spratt and others say they're ready to pick up the baton.
Rest well, because you deserve it, beautiful lady. And the fight goes on.
Now, Justice Ginsburg will lie in repose here at the Supreme Court for the rest of the day, and also tomorrow she will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol on Friday.
Each of these is full of tobacco now.
When we first visited Nash County farmer Jeff Tyson in 2019, he was just hoping to break even.
Last year was very tough.
The international trade fights, including one with China, added to that anxiety, effectively cutting off a key tobacco market. Fast forward a year, several new trade agreements are now in place, including a Phase 1 deal with China and a rewrite of NAFTA. But while that may add market stability, Tyson remains somewhat skeptical. Reports earlier this year showed China lagging behind on its commitments to purchase U.S. goods, including agricultural products.
It seems that China kind of ignored all the trade stuff there for a little while.
Tyson says farming in general can be a financial roller coaster from year to year. But 2020 brought a new headache, the pandemic. As COVID-related shutdowns slowed sectors of the economy to a halt, it had ripple effects.
Some of the processing products, like for us, would be sweet potatoes that are made into French fries or go into canners that would, go to restaurants. That market is pretty much non-existent right now.
Tyson's story is not unique. David Grant grows cotton and other crops in Northampton County. He likewise is wary of whether China will hold up its end of the bargain when it comes to trade. He also says the dramatic drop in clothing sales amid the pandemic could hurt his bottom line.
We lost almost all of the summer retail business, and then there was almost no back-to-school buying of clothes.
With Election Day just around the corner, a recent survey by the organization Farm Futures shows most farmers want to see Trump reelected. In the survey, conducted in late July, 75% of farmers said they would support Trump if the election were held that day. That's up from roughly 67% in 2019. Tyson is among those backing the president. He stood by Trump during the trade fight, telling me last year that he believes the president should have the chance to finish what he started. He says he trusts Trump on the economy over Democrat Joe Biden.
I think he has made strides to give freedom back, make you more responsible for yourself, and give you that opportunity to reach for the American dream without stumbling over a bunch of regulations.
Grant, meanwhile, says he's not sure who he'll vote for. After picking Trump in 2016, he was undecided last year and says he still is now, preferring Trump on the economy while liking Biden's demeanor. In short, he's stuck.
Do you vote with your pocketbook or do you vote with your conscience?
Kevin Frey, Spectrum News 1. Not just one, but two homes, the other across the street, flattened by the brute force of Florence. In some cases, that storm surge around here reaching several feet. Now, we have already seen the impact across this area, and really two different stories are playing out. In some cases, folks already looking to the cleanup process, looking to rebuild. In other cases, like those here, folks have no place to call home. Everywhere you look, Florence left its mark. Boats dumped on dry land, river water washed into homes.
We've sprayed several times with an anti-mold agent.
In some cases, they are already starting the gutting out process, removing the floor and walls. Many count themselves as lucky, saying it could have been worse.
Everything we sell is just stuff that we can replace. It's luxury items.
At the Franklin Antique Mall, they're clearing everything out, separating what can be kept from what needs to be tossed.
We got people here that we don't know who they are helping out today because they want us to be successful.
Just to give you a better sense of the power of the storm surge, this trailer here was originally parked way over there in front of the store before the storm began. It was supposed to serve as a sort of buffer against the winds. The governor, who surveyed the damage in New Bern Monday, says the recovery process will last months, possibly even years.
Our infrastructure, we got to help businesses get back on their feet, and we got to help people.
But while some are able to rebuild their homes, others have no home to go back to. The storm surge flattening whole buildings in one neighborhood, a place where people just do not have the money to rebuild.
For these people that live here, they're really out of options right now, and that's unfortunate. And they're going to need help. They really are.
Back in this community now, this is a sign that is sitting right next to one of these flattened homes. It reads, "Yes, we need help. God bless America." And so that begs the question, what happens to these families now? Who will help them?